I am your host, Leah Dunlap, and you are listening to the Oracle on Purpose podcast, where we help intentional leaders clarify their purpose and next steps to create a work and life of significance. Hello, beautiful people. It is Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose, and I want you to hear me. I'm going to say this twice, and here it goes. There was a time when enough is actually too much. Too much enough, right? We can fall prey to this lie in our heads that, well, it's enough. It's enough. That's enough for this. That's enough for that. I'll take just enough. Just enough. That's it. I was with a client on a VIP day weekend recently, and we were contemplating, like, she was asking for something at the restaurant, I think it was. And, she said to the person who was offering her more or something, that's enough. And I said, isn't it interesting that there is this kind of automatic system that says that's enough good. That's enough extra. That'll do, right? That'll do. I'll just take this little piece. I won't cause too much trouble. I won't ask too much of the world around me. I won't take up extra space or shine too brightly or speak my words, because I'll just stay here in the land of enough. But sometimes enough can be too much. There could be too much enoughness in your life. Too many spaces where you are clinging to just not making too much extra happen. Extra time, extra attention, extra abundance. So we were talking about that. We were talking about, like, isn't it interesting? And I always find myself looking at things from that perspective. It's not helpful, really, to judge it as good or bad necessarily, but we can play in land of curiosity when we get into these patterns and ask a better question. Isn't it interesting that it is easier for us to consider that there's an edge, there's a limit, there's just enough for everyone, and we're just going to take our piece of enoughness, than it is to imagine that the potential and possibilities of what could be are limitless and absolutely abundant. Think about the last time you worried about something being too much. Too much money, too much time, too bold, too brazen, that you were being too much, laughing too loud, loving too much. Think about that. And then ask yourself a better question with some curiosity, which is, if that's one possibility, what if we took that spectrum and just blew the doors off and looked at the absolute supposed most ridiculous possibility? Another client of mine today, we're talking about the level of work that she does and her pricing. And there was this moment where she was expressing this guilt about where she was in her pricing and what she was doing in the world and how others might see or think about it. And so I pushed the envelope for her, right? Because I think sometimes if we push it all the way out, we might just be surprised what we find. And that's what happened. And that's what's exciting. And that's what I want to share today. That there is a breaking point of enoughness. I promise you, in you, there is a place where you go all the way to the end and realize that being in this bubble that you've made of safety or security around being enough or having enough or just enough breaks. And on the other end of it, the crest of that hill, if you will, is reckless abandon and abundance. So what happened is, we were talking about this, we're walking through the truth, right? The facts of the matter is that people are paying her well and happily at the rate that she's giving. What was going on was an old ghost, if you will, of past patterns and past circles that she was in, where what she was and what she was doing wasn't valued and wasn't appreciated. So when we go to those places, side note, when we go to those places where we weren't previously appreciated and we expect to be appreciated now, it's not really a sensical thing to do. So that's one thing as a side note. What's interesting is I said, okay, let's just say that for what you do, you are the most expensive person doing it in the world. And you only work with like sheiks and heads of state, and that's where you're at. A funny thing happened. Her entire face lit up. It lit up and she laughed and she goes, that would be amazing. Do you see it? Do you see the crest? Do you see the break? And the realization set in that life could be that amazing, that she could be that person. Now, whether she wants to go there or not, what it did was it changed the framing of this pattern, because that opportunity, that possibility wasn't even entering the realm when she was stuck, focused down on just enough. Just enough to get your bills paid, just enough to buy the next house or the next thing or whatever. Think about it. Where are you putting those limiters? They could be anywhere, by the way. So I'm going to tell on myself, which all know I like to do. I don't walk this path without sharing what I learn. And so one of the things that is really funny is for a very long time, most of my life even, I would say, I didn't wear makeup. I didn't think it was important. That's what I said anyway. And I thought, I'll just wear enough. I'll just wear like a little lipstick, little whatever. But I'm not going to do all the things. I'm not going to do all the things because that's too much. And then I was around some women recently and I watched them and I looked at them and I saw something different in the way that they were presenting and wearing their makeup. That made me think, why can't I do that? Why isn't that okay? Where is that thought in my head, right? Where's it coming from? And what if we tried that on? What if we tried that possibility on? And so I just got done with a makeup class, which was really fun, online with the most amazing Gabrielle Leonard. Side note, if you need to find her, go do it, get her makeup class. And here's why that matters. I said yes to it, for one thing. That was a big thing. I got all the things, the makeup stuff that needed to happen. And then when I was finished and I looked up and I'm like, oh, this is an interesting thing. I'm still me. And there's this glow and there's this exuberance and there's this beauty and I feel it. But for a long time, that wasn't possible to me. Okay? Because I was living in like, oh, it's enough. This is enough. This is far enough. How many more years could I have had feeling this fabulous? Which, by the way, I look fabulous. And I feel fabulous. And it's not just the makeup, right? It's the concept of enoughness that we keep ourselves trapped in. And you may be finding yourself doing the same thing in any area of your life. But if you're finding yourself doing that in an area of your life that says, who I am really, pay attention, who I am really is too much for everyone else. So I'm just going to go to the edge. I'm just going to go to the place where I believe I'm enough. I'm enough here. Now, circling back to the story about the lunch date with my VIP client, we were contemplating what is an alternative. If someone asks you for something and you've had your fill, right? You're done with your water or your tea or whatever it is. What if instead we went to satisfaction, to the sense of being complete? What if you said, I had my fill? I'm satisfied. Thank you. There is a difference in it. It's subtle, I'll give you that. But sometimes the most dangerous beliefs that we hold stick around, right? And it really weed through our lives because they're subtle. And we don't take time to look at them. And then time passes and passes. And the next thing we know, we're 30 or 40 or 50 or 60.
And we haven't even really appreciated all the amazing, beautiful things that are available to us, all the possibilities of what we can be or have or experience, because we've spent so much effort and time just trying to stay in that bubble of enough. So yeah, I think there's a time when enough can be too much, when you can hold yourself so far away from the brilliance of what's possible to you that it doesn't make sense to even be. And people get there. They don't understand it. It all feels too much. But maybe the possibility of too much can be wonderful, can be amazing things, opportunities, insights, expressions of that part of you that you've been hiding, holding back on, capping, couching, training to stay small. What if that part of you got to let itself out and express and create and have and be and experience all of the possibilities that were in front of you, possibilities you haven't even considered yet because you're so tied to just enough. So, as you've probably heard, we're about to go to the too much side of the world in what we're creating for you in the Master Creators Alchemy Retreat. Another client asked, what is the, how did she phrase it? What is the theme of the Master Creators Alchemy Retreat? And I will tell you, this is part of it. The reason that I do everything I do when I do these retreats, where I take people outside of the norm to hopefully a location that on its own is transformative. And then on top of that, we just blow the doors off too much everything in all facets. It starts with the welcome bottle of bubbly that comes when you register, to the amazing gift box that's delivered before we get started, to the gifts that come when you're there, all of which are curated to grow that part of you that gets to play in the field of too much beauty, too much goodness, until that bubble grows. And suddenly the possibility of what you can be, do, and have is wide open. And we look at what you are creating now and we stretch to the external limits. And then we push even harder until you're flying free into possibility, into openness, into abundance and joy and camaraderie. Because this is such an intimate circle. What I've seen over the last 5 of these events is that people become so real and open and expressive that instant friendships are built, long-lasting friendships over states and miles and across the world are bonded in this way. So I have some exciting news. We're getting ready to close the container, if you will. And we have three spots left for people to join us. And if you've been listening to this and going, I'm so tired of just taking enough. I'm so ready to be all 100% of who I am in the real world, in the full world, in the fullness of who I am, and doing what I want and being happy and joyful, and amongst people who believe in being happy and joyful and maybe a little too much, then comment below Scotland, or reach out to me in a private message if you must. And we will let you know how to get started so that you can join us and take one of those spots for yourself. And maybe next year, we'll be talking about you and what you've created and how you're expressing yourself fully and way too much. All right, thanks for watching. Again, Master Creators Alchemy Retreat is August 31st through September 9th, and we are looking for 3 more people to join us. And if it's you, say so below.
Thanks for tuning in to the Oracle on Purpose show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you leaving a comment. Also, you can subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. If you'd like to get clear on your highest vision and next steps, go to oracleonpurpose.com. See you next week.